Hi, folks. This is Scott here. I like Christmas lighting, and I've been having a lot of people ask me about how to rebush a bubble light tree that has lost all of its visca, such as this lovely piece you see here. I bought this tree this way simply because it is the rare royal with the nice plaster base that says Merry Christmas with the Swags, and decided that I would try to do a quick YouTube video. And I do mean quick because they seem to take so long to download. So I'm hoping to show you how to rebush a tree with a stop and start video action. So you may not see the entire process, but I think once you get the idea of what I'm doing, you should be able to follow it pretty simply yourself. Number one, when rebushing a bubble light tree, try to get the right greening to do it with. I see some being sold like on eBay and stuff where somebody has used a garland like this. It comes in 9-foot strands generally. It's got big branches on it. And the problem with using this is first off, the scale is really not correct for the bubble light trees. If you measure across from this needle to this needle, from side to side, this is almost 2 inches long in needle length. The original bubble light trees were really close to 1 inch. So I strongly suggest that you try to find the stuff that I use, which is what I call rope garland. As you can see, it is one long piece of rope garland with no branches. If you measure across, this is actually 3/4. I used to find it in 1 inch, but I haven't been able to find it. But this is really close to 1 inch, and it's much closer to what was originally on a bubble light tree than this stuff here. This is, just throw that away. Anyway, so if you can find this, that's great. Try to get your garland with no cross branches on it, because when you wrap your tree, you're going to show, or you're going to wrap your own branches where you want them on the tree. Okay, so I believe I've covered the greenage. The next thing I want to talk about is, before you even start, check your tree out, make sure it lights, and make sure the electricity looks really good. Check all of your sockets, look down into the base of them, look down inside, make sure you don't have the start of a socket popping out, because if you do, you may want to replace that socket before you even start with a really good, strong, and well-wired socket. We'll save that for another YouTube video. As you can see right now, this beautiful royal tree, 11 light tree, has really good electricity. I got very lucky here. And as you can see, I just put cone lights in it for right now just to get it started. The first thing you really want to do is, and I'm going to remove this from the base. I had to remove it from it because it's a lot easier to work with. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove all of your lights, get them out of there, because you really don't need them in the way. So you'll unscrew all of your lights, and the next thing you're going to do is start removing the original greens that were on it. Keep in mind that this is a messy procedure. I haven't even started with this tree, and if you can see my table, it's already covered with needles. Once these trees start losing, that's it. These royal trees in particular, I believe, do not hold me to this, but I understand that they were sprayed with fire retardant, which just sped the process up. It not only ate away the greens, but it also ate the wires. So if you start by unwrapping what was originally there, if you see what I'm doing, I'm currently unwrapping what was originally here. And as you can see, greens are flying. you'll kind of get a good understanding of how these were greened in the first place. It was just simply wrapped around and down the tree. So what you really want to do right now at this point is go ahead and remove all that greenage. You're probably going to need a pair of wire cutters so that you can snip and start. And as you'll see, this piece was actually wrapped around your permanent branch. So you're going to remove all of that. Get rid of it all. You don't want any of that old stuff left on there, just making a mess. As you can see, I just unwrapped this, and the original wiring went around to the other side and wrapped this side over here. Right now, I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to continue to completely unwrap this. Keep in mind, when you're unwrapping, do not grab your electrical wires. Okay, we're going to start up again in just a second. Okay. When you're done, this is what you're going to end up with. A very naked, poor little tree. However, that's the base you want to start on. This right here is the mess that you will have. So remember, folks, when you're doing this, do it either outside or in a place where you can easily clean it up. Step 2 now is coming up in the video. And what we're going to do is start showing you essentially how to get it ready and start wrapping it. So let me pause for a second and clean up the mess. Okay, at this particular point in time, you now have your naked tree. It's ready to be regreened. But before you do that, I strongly suggest you look at all the wiring and make sure that there's no dry rot or maybe little splits or anything. Again, double check all of your sockets, because it's at this point that if you have to replace a socket, it's very easy to do. Again, I can show you how to pull the socket part out with a socket puller on another video if you want, and you can email me and I'll be happy to show you how to make a socket puller. But for right now, I happen to know that this tree is perfect. The only problem I know that I have, I don't know if you can see it, but right here, the lighting is really hard in my little video here. But this metal piece that's a holder for the socket is sort of bent and out of shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the socket up and out of it for a second. And I'm going to take a pair of like channel locks and bend it out straight again, the way it was originally. And I'm also going to try to bend this open and closed a little bit so that it'll hold this socket good and tight. It looks like when Royal made this tree originally, it looks to me like perhaps they put tape around the base of each one of the sockets. I don't know if you can see this white tape. And I bet they did that. Now, again, I'm no expert, but I'll bet you they did that in order to keep the sockets from popping up and out of their holder. I still don't like the fact that this one is a little bit loose, and perhaps I should do the same and put tape around it. But for right now, I'm just going to close that hole even tighter and shove it down so it's good and tight. And now it is. It's really nice and tight. I've gone and I've checked the bottoms of all my sockets. I've looked and I've made sure that there's no sockets popping out. This tree is actually very well wired. It's just a shame that fire retardant did such a mess on these trees with the greenery and stuff. But fortunately, it seemed to leave the electrical wires alone. Again, it looks like I have another loose socket here. I don't know, maybe this is the same one. I'm going to try to tighten this up so that it stays good and tight. And I believe that may help. And I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Unfortunately, I'm filming this completely by myself, so you're getting a very amateur video. Okay, so I think we're ready. We're ready to start wrapping. This is the part I think that confuses a lot of people, and yet I believe it's one of the simplest. Now, I've only done cone trees. I've never done the ones with the single spindle up the center, but I would imagine it's pretty much the basic same. All right, what I do with my greenery, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it in this video, but all the needles kind of are facing in one direction. So what I've done with the whole rest of this spindle, it's 25 feet long, is I've held it tight and pulled it to sort of fluff it up and to get the needles just sort of going in all directions, because that's what you want. So in order to get started, what you're going to do is you're going to wrap all the way around, okay? And then you're going to go and wrap all of the permanent sockets first. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure there are lighting guys who are much smarter than me who know exactly how they're wrapped, but what I'm going to show you is what's worked for me in the past. And I find that wrapping each one of the huge, or the stationary socket arms is a lot easier. So here we go. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my rope like this, my garland rope. Now see, this is wired, just like the original stuff was. It was all, needles on a wire. I'm gonna bend an L shape like that, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it to the cone like this. And I'm going to start wrapping it around the cone. This is why it's good to have the base off, because it's just easier to work with this way. And what I'm doing is I'm wrapping around that L shape that I bent so that now it's good and tight. The other thing I forgot to mention is, whatever you do when wrapping a tree, do not start at the bottom. What ends up happening is everything wants to start lifting up the cone, and you're forever pushing it down and trying to keep it tight. If you start at the top and start wrapping your way down, it'll be a lot easier. And as you can see, I'm just spinning this cone around and wrapping this tree right up. So once I get done, unfortunately I'm wrapping up the electric cord too. Once I get down far enough, you could go further if you want, but at this point it's about ready to head down to the first permanent branch, which I'm going to use this one right here. Alright, now here's what you want to do. Look, go under the branch. Did you see I swept under the branch? And now you're going to keep it tight. Keep it tight to the tree. Always tight. And just start wrapping around that branch like this. And you're wrapping out to the end. When you get out to the end, you're now going to try somehow to wrap the socket like this. If you can see, I hope you can see what I'm doing. And then go up and around again, real tight around the lip of the socket, okay, and go underneath again, and back to the cone. And now you can see that, I hope you can see, because the lighting is so bad, that's really pretty well wrapped. And maybe I could go around it one more time, I think, around the socket part, and then go up and back, and now it's good and bushy. So you can judge for yourself how far you need to wrap it. So once you get back to the cone, look, you're just going to go to the one on the opposite side right here. See, that's the one I wrapped. Here's the one over here. Now we're going to go around this branch just like this and go around and around. Now look, at this point you can come underneath of the socket and grab the socket and go around the socket once, look, then go back up and over it and around the upper portion of the socket and down again. And essentially the one good thing you're doing is you're going to tighten those sockets in really good if you learn how to wrap properly. Okay, so now I've gone back again. And now look, you just twist it down to the next one and go. And just rewrap and wrap that one just like you did the other ones. Make sure all your sockets are good and snug in. And you continue to wrap all of the permanent branches. Again, I'm going to take a break here because I don't think you need to see me wrap the whole thing. I think you've got the idea, or at least I hope you do. And then we'll come back and show you how to finish off the tree. It really doesn't take that long if you have the proper materials. Okay, so we'll be back in just a second. Okay, we're back with all of the permanent contact branches completely wrapped. As you can see, it really was easy. And total time, that took me about 5 minutes to finish this from where I left off on the video. So it doesn't really take you all that long. Now you can see I still have the long piece that after I finished wrapping the last branch. What you could do is you can take it. Okay, keep pulling it tight, take your pair of wire cutters, snip it somewhere right about here, and look, you can tuck it under one of your down slides, you know, where I went down like that, and pull it tight, and that way that'll hold all of that good and tight. And there you go. Now, the one thing I didn't realize was it's real easy. Shove the electric cord up inside of the cone if you're doing a cone tree, because it keeps wrapping up as you're trying to do this. All right. Now, so that's a little hint. Anyway, the next thing we're going to do is start wrapping the full tree. Now, the one thing I didn't mention was that when I was wrapping this last branch right here, let me back it up a little bit right here. This last branch, I finished my 25-foot garland rope. So what I did was I just took a new garland rope like this right here, and I twist tied it. Just twist tied it to the other one, and then I pushed it up to the underside of the branch, finished wrapping the rest of the socket, and went all the way around back to the center again. And that's where I picked up this video. And as you can see, I just pulled it and tucked it underneath here. When you wrap the rest of the tree, this is going to get wrapped really tight, so you don't have to worry about it really being loose or anything. So I'm going to take one more quick break here, and then I think we're going to finish this tree out. But I need to go get another rope of garland. I didn't bring enough. It looks like it's going to take probably close to 75 feet of garland to do this. Maybe you could do it with less. I don't know. Again, ask the experts.